By now, you've probably heard my Magic Wand story. It's a brand that's been part of my personal journey for more than 20 years. But no matter how many times I sing Magic Wand's praises, I'll never be able to fully capture the story of this incredible brand. Well, now journalist and author Kate Sloan just completed a limited audio series documenting the history and impact that Magic Wand has created over the last 56 years. It's called Making Magic. And the series chronicles Magic Wand's incredible brand story through interviews with nearly 40 experts, performers, business owners, educators, and fans. So I got a sneak preview of this series, and what I loved is that Kate weaves together snippets from all their interviews into this amazing story arc. She covers Magic Wand's journey from appliance store massager to its legendary influence on culture and sexual independence, and it's all just fascinating. The first episodes of Making Magic are available now at makingmagicseries.com or on all popular podcast platforms. Just search for Making Magic or visit makingmagicseries.com today. The other challenge about oral sex is that everyone's body is different. Every single vulva is a different vulva and likes different things. Like, I learned through my masturbation that the upper left quadrant of my vulva, like on the left side of my clitoris, is more sensitive than the right. For you, Abby, it might be your right and not your left. How fun we get to really get granular and figure out what feels good to us. You're listening to Sex with Emily. I'm Dr. Emily, and I'm here to help you prioritize your pleasure and liberate the conversation around sex. If you've never talked about your sex life with your partner before, well, there's a good chance they'll push back. Why? Well, because most of us go into fight or flight mode when talking about sex. It's just not normalized in our culture. We get defensive, we feel like we're being criticized. But never fear, you can create a culture of sex communication in your relationship, one talk at a time. Be the change is what I'm saying. On today's hotline show, I take your calls about having a sex talk, like telling your wife you want her to massage your prostate, or telling a partner you want your vanilla sex to be a little spicier. How to relax into oral and give your partner tips to give you even more pleasure. And how to tell your partner, you know what? I need to be seduced a little bit before we jump into penetration. If we can talk about sex like we talk about eating dinner, everyone wins. So take a listen to this episode and see if your next sex talk isn't a little bit easier. Intentions with Emily. For each episode, join me in setting an intention for the episode. I do it. I encourage you to do it. Well, my intention is to normalize and highlight the importance of talking about your sex life at any stage in a relationship. Plus, show you how much of a difference it can really make in your sex life. Please rate and review Sex with Emily wherever you listen to the show. My new article, Embodied is the New Sexy, 5 Benefits of Living a Radically Embodied Life, is up at sexwithemily.com. Also, check out my YouTube channel, my social media, and my TikTok. It's all at Sex with Emily for more sex tips and advice. If you want to ask me a question, just leave me your questions or message me, sexwithemily.com/assemily, or just call my hotline, 559-TALK-SEX, or 559-825-5739. Always include your name, your age, where you live, and how you listen to the show. And it's totally cool to change your name if you want to remain anonymous. All right, everyone, enjoy this episode.
Hi, Dr. Emily. My name is Andrew from Washington State, in my 30s. Me and my wife have been married for 10 years. And we're both the only people we've ever been with. And over the last couple of years, our life in the bedroom has been stale or non-existent, maybe once a month if we're lucky. And then also it's pretty vanilla, pretty boring. I want to be a little bit more adventurous. She's very not. Thank you. Bye.
Andrew, well, welcome to being married for 10 years, okay? Or welcome to being married for a while or in a committed relationship for a while. Your sex life is going to get a little bit stale. In fact, I'd be hard-pressed to find a couple that doesn't have this challenge, unless they've been listening to the show for a long time and they understand that prioritizing your pleasure, prioritizing talking about sex with your partner is probably one of the most important conversations you can have. So, you're not alone. Nothing's wrong. And let's start where you're at. So first I want to know, how was your sex life in the beginning of the relationship? Did you guys have had sex? Were you really connected to each other? Was it a little bit more exciting in the beginning? I hope the answer is yes. Hope the answer is yes. That's why we are with somebody. We're with somebody because usually the sex was amazing in the beginning. And then over time, we get set in our ways. We focus on our careers or family or other things, and we just kind of forget about the sex. And then it's hard to get back to it, or it's hard to even make it exciting again, because remember, honeymoon sex is the best sex. Early on, it's all new. You've never been with this person before. You've never touched this person's body before. So now we got to start thinking about, what can you guys do to make it a little bit more interesting right now? Have you ever talked to her about your sex life? Have you ever had a conversation and said, God, I would love to prioritize our sex life. I'd love to know some of your biggest turn-ons, your turn-offs, what's worked for you. Let's be great lovers to each other. So that's where this starts. Here's how it doesn't start. Gosh, our sex life is super boring lately. Feels really vanilla. Don't you think so? Because where do you go from there? Then she feels bad. She's made it vanilla. Oh my God, it's my fault. Well, a lot of us do that. I would probably do that. Start shaming and blaming herself. So if you start from a positive angle, again, using my 3 T's of communication, outside the bedroom, not right after you just had boring sex again. That is not the time to do it. It's like, babe, I'm thinking about us. God, I love you. You try the compliment sandwich. Love the compliment sandwich. Compliment sandwich starts with a wonderful compliment about your sex life. Hey, I've just been thinking about our 10 years together, and, you can mention something that you do love about your sex life. God, I just loved watching you come out of the shower the other day. It was so hot to look at your body, and I think about sex with you all the time. That's the positive part of the sandwich. That's the first layer of bread. And then the middle part is where you give a little feedback. You make a request, and you say, it's really hot, and I have been listening to this podcast lately, or I've been reading up on relationships, and I realize that I would love to continue to really have hot, incredible sex for the rest of our lives, the next 10 years, the next 30 years. And I would love it if we could start to talk about some things that we both want to try in the bedroom and start to prioritize some fun, different things. And you could even talk about listening to the show. I have a podcast we should listen to together. I was listening to this podcast and I realized that the majority of couples, their sex life continues to evolve and grow and become even more intimate and sexy, talk about sex. And I realized we never talked about sex. So that would be your request in the middle. And then the final piece of bread in our compliment sandwich is, because I really think if we start having talks, prioritizing our pleasure, exploring and trying new things, we're going to have a sex life that's going to be next level and really enhance our relationship. And I can't wait to try things. Are you open? And I want you to be prepared that she might push back. She might say, you don't like our sex life? Are you not attracted to me anymore? Are you dating someone else? Is there someone else in the picture? What did I do wrong? Are you watching a lot of porn? Because remember, people, when you bring up sex in a relationship where you've never talked about it, right? I don't care if it's 10 months, 10 years, you've been together for 50 years. If you have never talked about it, the first time you do, your partner's going to go into a little panic. They're going to go into a little fight or flight. They're going to wonder, why hasn't this come up before? What is the problem? It's danger, because sex is so scary for so many of us. It's terrifying. Our partner brings up sex, sound off the alarm. This is a problem. So you might have to reassure her. You probably haven't talked about it either. So this is new for you. So you could say, babe, I just want you to know that this is new for me. This is really uncomfortable. But from what I've gathered, it's really important for us to work on this together to get through this hump, and just continue to reassure her that you think this is something that once we get past all this shame and the blocks, actually, the truth is, once you learn to make this sex life more interesting for both of you and an evolving part of your relationship, it really is going to enhance every other part of your relationship. I see this time and time again. Once you start to have these conversations, you're going to realize that some of the stuff that's been a problem, because what's actually been missing is this excitement and the thrill that comes from having really connected sex. And so maybe resentments have built up. Maybe one or both of you sort of started to dread bedtime because you know that sex is going to happen. It might not be very good, or it's kind of boring. Because believe me, she knows this as well. She knows there's something up with your sex life you haven't quite addressed yet. But once you do, it becomes a project. It becomes a new hobby. It becomes a fun part of your relationship that you're going to start to rebuild, or maybe for the first time, create together. You co-creating a new sexual experience together, which I find very, very exciting and very thrilling. So I'm excited for you to start to have new conversations about your turn-ons, your turn-offs, our yes, no, maybe list, listening to the podcast together, watching some ethical porn, like whatever fodder you need so you guys can both start making decisions about where you want your sex life to go is going to be helpful for your next level of your relationship and your sex life. Thank you so much for your question, Andrew. And please keep me posted, you guys. There's nothing I love more than hearing your stories. We like to call them success stories here at Sex with Emily when you guys email us. We just got a great one the other day. This is from Michelle47, and she said, Dr. Emily, I recently discovered your podcast on Spotify, and you've given me so much to think about and talk about in my relationship with my boyfriend. I'm 47, he's 56. We've been dating for a year and a half. Sex has been amazing, but now I'm finding ways to change things up. One of the common things I'm getting from your podcast is the importance of communication and its effects on sex. I love the 3 T's, and I was mindful of them when I had a frank talk with him last night. I also brought up listening to your podcast, and I was curious if he would like to try sex without penetration. We had amazing sex this morning without penetration, and both of us orgasmed. Win-win. Thank you. So to me, that's like she listened, it helped her. These tips that I'm telling you. So you guys let me know. Drop me a note. Email me. feedback@sexwithemily.com. Let me know how it's going because we're all invested in your journey. After the break, I'm answering a question from Abby who needs help receiving oral and actually enjoying it.
Hi, my name is Abby. I'm 20 from Idaho. I have a question about receiving oral. I've been with my boyfriend for almost 2 years, and I can't tell if I like it or not. He likes giving it to me, and I like the idea of it, but maybe he's the first I've ever had sex with. He's the first one who I've ever received oral from, so I just can't tell if maybe it's something that we need to just, try more, or it's almost not worth it doing it, because, sometimes I find pleasure from it, but sometimes it doesn't really get me there, or it gets me there too fast sometimes because I don't understand. Something I'd like to be more curious about. Thank you. Bye.
All right, Abby. Thank you so much for your question. Okay, listen, it's funny. I'm writing a book right now, and I'm just writing about my first oral sex experience when I was 20 years old at the University of Michigan, and my boyfriend went down to me, and I was like, he tried to go down to me. I was like, what are you doing? This doesn't feel good. I don't understand it. Do you really want to be doing this? Isn't this dirty? Isn't it wrong? I didn't know how to even take it in and how to feel it and how to experience it. Sounds like you're a little bit more evolved than I was. You're actually letting him do it. I think I stopped him completely, but you're letting him do it and you're feeling your way through it. It's a new experience completely. And also, not to knock your boyfriend, but I'm going to guess he probably doesn't have a lot of experience doing it either. So it might not feel the best it's going to feel in your life. In fact, I'm going to tell you that oral sex can be an incredible act. And the majority of vulva owners, remember, are going to have their most pleasure and most orgasms from oral sex, fingers, or toys. That said, I think we just need a little bit more time with you kind of relaxing into it, breathing, maybe guiding him and letting him know what feels good and what doesn't. I'm also curious what your experience is with pleasure and with orgasm, knowing your own body. Have you spent time masturbating, touching yourself? Do you know where your hot spots are in your body? Do you know what feels particularly good for you? What doesn't feel good for you? So really, this is a collaboration between you and your partner. And so he's probably doing what he's seen in porn. And the other challenge about oral sex is that everyone's body is different. Every single vulva is a different vulva and likes different things. I learned through my masturbation that the upper left quadrant of my vulva, on the left side of my clitoris, is more sensitive than the right. For you, Abby, it might be your right and not your left. How fun we get to really get granular and figure out what feels good to us. Now, there might be something with your partner, I love that he's so enthusiastic, but maybe you guys could slow it down and say, you know what? I'm really trying to pinpoint where it feels good and where it doesn't. And I've found that for me, this learning process has really been helpful when I go slow. My partner goes slow. I breathe. And since the clitoris is so sensitive, the vulva, there's 8,000 nerve endings, that It really is a wonderful practice to kind of slow down and see how each touch feels, how the tongue feels, different licks, different moves. You remember you can also use his fingers. That's really helpful. That can feel great. Oral sex isn't just about the mouth. Also, just take the pressure off yourself that you should feel something in particular, like there's a particular outcome. So right now, where you're learning just to receive, because that's a whole nother art of oral, is receiving oral. I get a lot of questions about giving oral. Like, how do I be better at giving oral? But receiving is a whole art form, because most of us are in our heads going, oh my God, do they really want to be there? Do I smell? Is my labia weird? Am I going to orgasm? Am I not going to orgasm? What are they doing? And then guess what happens when you are in your head and you're like cycling all of these thoughts through your head? You are so far from your body and you're so far being in your body and feeling what feels good. So take the pressure off. Don't look for an outcome and just breathe and feel into what feels good and communicate with your partner. Now, we have a ton of resources about giving and receiving oral sex on a vulva. Check out our podcast, A+ Oral Sex for Vulvas and Everybody Loves Oral. 2 great podcasts to start with. We also have articles that break down things like the Kivin method. Gosh, I'm not going to get into it here, but the Kivin method, just go to our website. Check out this article. Everything that I'm mentioning is in the show notes, but the Kivin method is a game changer. I mentioned it about 7 years ago on the show for the first time. And it's particularly for oral sex and vulva owners. And all y'all emailed me. I've never received so many emails in my life and DMs. People were like, this was a game changer. My partner had an orgasm for the first time. It felt amazing. So check it out, Kivin, or check out the show notes. Thanks for your question. You got this, Abby.
Hi, Emily. This is Tracy. I am a 50-year-old female, and I am in South Florida. And my 2-part question is, how can I get my husband of 4 years, who's 53, to be more romantic with me before sex? He just usually goes right into it and starts touching me without kissing or anything. And I need a little more than that. I need some foreplay, which he doesn't do so well. And secondly, how can I increase my sex drive? I notice at 50 and even for the past few years, it's been way, 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 way down. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you so much for your question, Tracy. All right. So it sounds like you and your husband just need a little bit of reset here. And so, it is common to get into routine where your husband walks in, he kind of gropes you for a few minutes and then like sticks it in, pumps away, roll over, watch TV. And that doesn't work for many vulva owners. Foreplay is important. Foreplay isn't just a suggestion like, oh, foreplay would be nice if you get around to it. No. Foreplay is actually a requirement because the majority of vulva owners need time to warm up. We need time to get turned on in the mood. And what happens with a lot of penis owners, not all of them, but many, is that, that their arousal and desire is a little bit more spontaneous. So in the moment he gets struck with this attraction for you and he just wants you. So he just comes in, he starts going and you're like, I'm not even ready right now. I'm not even thinking about sex. So we need to first figure out is, when are you in the mood for sex? Think back to when you were feeling a little bit more turned on and you felt like your sex drive was where you want it to be. What was happening prior to that? We all have to become experts in our own sexual history, our own sex drives. Like, do you know the times like when you were turned on? What did your partner do preceding that? What were you doing? Was the house really clean? Were the kids napping? Did you just have a great day at work? Were you coming home from a workout? Did you have a great meal? Did you not have a great meal because then you weren't full? Like, really think about where was your mind, body, spirit when you were turned on? The last few times or the majority of times. This is how we start to become like little inspectors or detectives. And we're like, okay, well, this is all the things I need to have in place so I am turned on. And then you get to communicate that with your partner or you get to figure it out together. So again, this starts with a communication about your sex life outside the bedroom, using my 3 T's of communication or just letting him know like, our sex life is so important. I've noticed like the last few years, tell him the truth. Like my sex drive isn't what it once was. I love you. I honor our sex life. We got to make it a priority. And I'm also trying to figure out what's really going to get me in the mood, what's going to get me turned on. And I'm thinking I need more than you walking in the room and touching me in a way that, seriously, babe, I'm finding that doesn't really do it for me. So would you want to go on a journey with me right now while I figure out what my turn-ons actually are and what gets me there? So that would be the way that I would frame that with him. But also, let's talk about your sex drive. Okay, so it is known that at a certain age, things change, our hormones start to fluctuate. Perimenopause for women can be like a 10, 15-year process, starting in the late 30s, going to the early 50s. Gosh, that's even more than that. It could be 15 years. But no one really talks about it that much, not enough. There's some more information coming out these days, but it's like this secret part of women's life. We just silently suffer through this period in our life where our body changes. We might feel like we're a little bit drier. We have less lubrication. We are less turned on. Sex can get painful. We have, our desire isn't what it once was. And so just normalizing that first off, gosh, I really want to normalize that. And then think about it, like some reasons why you might have a low sex drive. Some common culprits are your hormones. Have you had your hormones checked? Are you particularly stressed out about anything? Are you on any medications? Medications, no matter what our age, like antidepressants, huge impact on our sex drive. Are you depressed? How's your sleep? Anything going on with intimacy, any resentments in the relationship about money or drive overall, just like, what is going on? Are you guys making time for intimacy in other ways? Are you having date night? There have been like really comprehensive studies that have shown that couples who say once a week, it's our non-negotiable, it's our date night, we're not doing anything else, we're not canceling it, it's the most important thing of our week, have shown that their relationships flourish in other ways, like making time for just the two of you so you feel particularly connected. Because I'm hearing that he just walks in the room and starts to touch you and you're not turned on. Maybe you're not feeling connected to him. Maybe that's what you need. For me personally, I know that I'm the most connected to my partner. We have a chance to like talk about our day, share something that's been going on lately. I want to feel connected. Unless I haven't seen my partner in a while, most of the time I'm going to need other things happening. It's like my warm up. It's my foreplay. I often say that foreplay starts after the last orgasm. What have you guys been doing to connect since the last time you had sex? Masturbation is an important part too of getting our sex drive where we want it to be, because sex begets sex. So the more orgasms we have, the more pleasure we have, the more connected we are to sex and orgasm, the more we're going to want to have. So Tracy, those are just some things to be thinking about. Get curious, become an expert in your own sex drive and your own sex life, because then you can be the best advocate for yourself. And this is just something that you get to work out with your partner. It's a new fun thing you guys can share together and figuring out how you can have sex that is equally satisfying, desirable, and pleasurable for both of you. Thanks for your question, Tracy. That's it for today's episode. See you on Friday. Thanks for listening to Sex with Emily. Be sure to like, subscribe, and give us a review wherever you listen to the podcast, and share this with a friend or partner. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Sex with Emily. Oh, I've been told I give really good email. So sign up at sexwithemily.com. And while you're there, check out my free guides and articles for more ways to prioritize your pleasure. If you'd like to ask me about your sex life, dating, or relationships, call my hotline, 559-TALK-SEX. That's 559-825-5739. Or go to sexwithemily.com/askemily. Special thanks to Acast for powering the Sex with Emily podcast. Was it good for you? Email me, feedback@sexwithemily.com.